The orderly world of Lydia Blake. Lydia Blake thrived on order. Her days were ruled by routine, each hour meticulously planned and executed. The soft clicks of her keyboard, the gentle rustle of parchment, these were the sounds that filled her days as a city archivist. Surrounded by towering shelves laden with history, Lydia felt most at peace amidst the silence of the archives. Her world was one of facts and dates, of neatly cataloged stories, carefully preserved within the confines of her domain. One Tuesday, however, Lydia's structured existence took an unexpected turn. An unexpected invitation. The invitation was penned by one Mr. Reginald Thornfield, the last surviving heir of the estate. He sought Lydia's expertise in archiving a vast collection of family documents. Intrigued by the prospect of unearthing forgotten histories, Lydia felt a strange pull towards Thornfield. Despite a prickle of unease, she accepted the invitation, drawn to the enigma of the Whispering House. Journey to the unknown. Finally, as dusk began to settle, the imposing silhouette of Thornfield Estate emerged against the darkening sky. The mansion loomed over the desolate landscape, its once grand facade now crumbling and neglected. A shiver ran down Lydia's spine, a premonition of the secrets that awaited her within those decaying walls. Stepping out of the carriage, Lydia felt a chill wind whip around her, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. The estate was shrouded in an almost unsettling silence, broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant caw of a crow. The driver unloaded her bags, his eyes darting nervously towards the house. He didn't linger, his hasty departure only amplifying Lydia's growing sense of unease. She was utterly alone. The whispering walls of Thornfield. As Lydia stepped across the threshold of Thornfield Estate, she was greeted by the musty scent of neglect and decay. Cobwebs hung like macabre drapes, and dust lay thick on the once grand furnishings. Above, a massive chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, its crystals dull and lifeless. The air was thick with the weight of forgotten memories, their silence almost deafening. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, his silhouette stark against the faint moonlight filtering through a nearby window. "Miss Blake, I presume," he greeted, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the hall. "I am Reginald Thornfield." His eyes, dark and intense, seemed to bore into Lydia, making her acutely aware of her sudden solitude within the whispering walls of Thornfield. Reginald Thornfield was a man etched with the passage of time. His face, a canvas of wrinkles and shadows, held a certain severity that both fascinated and unnerved Lydia. She sensed a deep sadness in his eyes, a melancholy that seemed to emanate from him like an unseen aura. As he led her through the labyrinthine halls, his footsteps echoed with an eerie resonance, each one seeming to whisper a warning. "Thornfield has a rich history," Reginald said, his voice barely a murmur in the cavernous hall, "but it is also burdened by tragedy. There are rooms here, Miss Blake, that have been sealed for decades. Stories whispered in hushed tones, secrets buried deep within these walls." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning, sending a shiver down Lydia's spine. Over dinner, in a dining room that felt more like a mausoleum, Reginald spoke of his family's troubled past. There were tales of forbidden love, bitter rivalries, and a string of untimely deaths. A chilling legend of a family curse hung over Thornfield, whispered by the servants and villagers alike. Lydia, though skeptical by nature, couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. As the night deepened and shadows danced in the flickering candlelight, Lydia became acutely aware of the sounds of the house. Floorboards creaked underfoot, a constant reminder of the mansion's age and decay. The wind howled outside, its mournful cry sounding eerily like a human voice. And then, there were the whispers. At first, Lydia dismissed them as tricks of the wind, figments of her imagination playing on her nerves. But as the night wore on, the whispers grew more distinct, swirling around her like unseen specters. They seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, hushed voices murmuring secrets just beyond her grasp. Sleep became an elusive dream, replaced by a growing sense of dread. One night, unable to bear the oppressive silence any longer, Lydia ventured out of her room. The hallway was shrouded in darkness, the only light emanating from the moon, which cast long, distorted shadows across the floor. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing in the eerie silence. And then she saw it. At the end of the hallway, a spectral figure flickered in and out of view. It was a woman, her form translucent, her long white gown billowing around her as if caught in a phantom breeze. She seemed to glide rather than walk, her sorrowful eyes fixed on Lydia. Terror froze Lydia in her tracks, her breath caught in her throat. Before Lydia could gather her wits, the figure vanished, leaving behind only the lingering scent of lavender and decay. It was a scent both alluring and repellent, a haunting reminder of the unseen presence that roamed the halls of Thornfield. Shaken to her core, Lydia stumbled back to her room, her mind racing with questions. Who was this ghostly woman? And what connection did she have to Thornfield's tragic past? The next morning, determined to find answers, Lydia immersed herself in her work. She delved into the Thornfield archives, her fingers tracing over faded ink and brittle parchment. As she meticulously sorted through the centuries-old documents, a recurring name caught her eye: Elizabeth Thornfield. According to the records, Elizabeth had been a beautiful but troubled soul, her life cut tragically short under mysterious circumstances. One diary entry, penned in elegant script, hinted at a secret love affair and a broken heart. Elizabeth had written of a forbidden romance, of stolen moments, and whispered promises beneath the shadows of the old oak tree. But her words were also laced with despair, a sense of impending doom. It was as if she knew her happiness was fleeting, her fate already sealed. Intrigued, Lydia continued her research, piecing together fragments of Elizabeth's story like shards of a broken mirror. She discovered that after Elizabeth's death, her room had been sealed, deemed cursed by the superstitious staff. The whispers, Lydia realized, seemed to be strongest near that wing of the house. Armed with this knowledge and a growing sense of urgency, Lydia decided to confront Reginald. She found him in the library, his gaunt figure hunched over a crackling fire. He listened intently as Lydia recounted her experience, his dark eyes never leaving hers. When she finished, a long silence hung heavy in the air. "The locked room," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "It is said that Elizabeth's spirit remains trapped there, forever searching for her lost love." That night, driven by a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, Lydia found herself drawn back to the locked room. The hallway leading to it was dark and oppressive, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. As she approached the door, the whispers intensified, swirling around her like a chorus of tormented souls. With trembling hands, she reached for the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a darkened room, its interior shrouded in shadows. A musty scent, like that of decaying flowers, wafted out, making Lydia's stomach churn. As she stepped across the threshold, she felt an icy hand grip her arm, and a blood-curdling scream escaped her lips. Subscribe for part 2.